Do you feel sharp pain or pinching feeling in the front of your hip with exercises such as squatting or deep lunges? Hey everyone, this is Dr. Zach Good here, Performance Sport and Spine. In today's video, we're covering a comprehensive rehab program for femoroacetabular impingement, more commonly known as hip impingement. We'll be covering the condition and then the comprehensive rehab program in this video. If you want a more detailed understanding of this condition, we have another video and the link is below in the description. So for this condition, we need three things. The first being symptoms, and this is often back pain, buttock pain, groin pain, hip pain, or thigh pain. There may also be catching, locking, or clicking of your hip, and there may also be lots of range of motion of the hip joint itself. The next is clinical signs, positive orthopedic test. The two that have the best evidence are Fader and Faber. And then lastly, imaging, positive bony change and findings on x-rays or MRIs. There are two types of impingement. First, PINCER, which is changes to the acetabulum of the pelvis. And secondly, CAM, which is changes to the femoral head and neck. So with this condition, there's a lot of misinformation, and often it's prescribed as a lack of mobility or a stretching problem. But the truth is those bones have changed, and that loss of range of motion is due to bony changes, not a soft tissue thing. So certain stretches such as hip flexion or internal rotation will just irritate the joint and the capsule more and make the problem worse. Again, stretching is going to make this worse, and you're never going to increase the range of motion because the bones have changed. For a quick visualization, think of normal hip range of motion as this. With hip impingement, you're going to have less. So the goal is to get stronger within that range of motion. You're not going to create more range of motion. Now we'll cover the comprehensive rehab portion of this video. We've broken down into 6 different subgroups of exercises, varying from difficulty of 1 progressing to level 4. Now it's really important to find the right entry point and progress at your own pace. There's no one-size-fits-all model. We will give you some general recommendations, but you should always tailor it to the person. And again, this is probably going to take months, not weeks. So global exercise level 1 is a box squat. You need to find a box or a bench, and again, you may need to adjust the height to your current fitness and comfort level, but you need to keep your arms crossed, arms straight ahead, weight over the middle of your foot, and then sit down with your hips, and then stand up nice and slow and controlled. Don't let your weight go over your knees. So again, kind of sit down and back, and then stand up. As you bend your hip, some people may actually get a pinching feeling, so you may want to find a box that's higher up to help limit your range of motion. Because again, remember, if it's only going to bend so far, trying to smash into that isn't going to help. So finding that partial range of motion that you can do is really important. So if you're uncomfortable to do the air squat initially, 2 alternates that are a little easier is the ball wall squat. So pressing your back into the wall and the ball, squat down to tolerance, and then stand up. You would do this until you feel confident and strong enough to progress to the box squat. Another alternate that's a little easier is just doing an assisted squat. So hold on to something to kind of help stabilize yourself, and again, sit down to tolerance and stand up. Remember, keep your weight over your midfoot and make sure to load the hips and not overload the knees. So level 2 would be a goblet squat. So holding a light kettlebell or dumbbell in your hands, keep your weight over your midfoot, squat down to the box, and then stand up slow and controlled. Again, make sure to load the hips and not load the knees, and adjust the box to tolerance. So level 3 is the Bulgarian split squat. So a small step or bench, you're going to place your back foot on it, either on the toe or just let the toe go flat. Keeping the weight on that midfoot and your knee, hip, and shoulders all aligned, drop straight down and stand back up. You should feel tension over the anterior front of that leg. Now as you go down, your hip is going to flex and you probably will feel a pinching at some point. Only go down and to that point. Don't try to push farther because it'll just cause more irritation of that hip joint. And this will be different for each person, so you have to do it to your current symptom level. And then level 4 would just be a weighted Bulgarian split squat. So with external weight or dumbbells or kettlebells in your hand, lunge down, keeping the weight on that midfoot, and stand back up, keeping the hips, knees, and shoulders aligned. So now we'll do the adductors, or the muscles on the inside of your leg. So the level 1 exercise with this is the ball squeeze. So laying on your back with your knees bent, place a ball or a foam roller or some other object between your knees, and then you're going to press your knees into that object and hold for a duration that we say, or to your current symptom levels. And again, over time you want to increase how hard you squeeze on that object. So level 2 would be just the banded adduction. So with the band anchored on one end and around one ankle, you're going to pull the banded ankle across midline, slow and controlled. Again, you should feel tension on the inside of your thigh or the adductor group. As you progress the difficulty of this, we recommend using a more stiff band with greater resistance to progress the difficulty. So level 3 is the short lever Copenhagen side plank. So with your elbow underneath your shoulders to support it and your top leg on a bench, we're going to lift ourselves up, keeping our hips, knees, and shoulders aligned, and hold tension on the inside of the leg to the current dosage or your current symptom levels. So level 4 will be a long lever. So with your elbow underneath your shoulder and your knee fully straight this time up on the bench, you're going to lift up and then hold. Over time, to progress it, you'll add a dynamic loading motion as we demonstrate here. Next, we go for exercises for your abductors, which are on the outside of your hip. So level 1 abductors, so sideline leg raise. So with affected leg up with your hand supporting your head, keep the top leg straight, and then raise your leg up towards the ceiling and down. Make sure you feel tension in the outside posterior buttocks, and make sure your leg doesn't swing forward. Sometimes it can be helpful to put your heel, butt, and back against the wall for an external cue. So level 2 is banded abduction. So the outside leg this time with the band anchored on the other side, you're going to press your foot out away from the anchor, and you should feel tension on your outside of your leg. It may be helpful to hold on to something to anchor yourself, but again, push your leg straight outwards and feel tension on the outside of that hip. So level 3 is a single leg deadlift. So holding a light weight or maybe no weight at all, you're going to push this leg backwards. Don't just lean forward because that's your back. So pressing your right leg back in this context, you're going to want to pivot on your hip. So you want to feel tension on this part of your leg, not your back. So I'm driving my leg back, and my leg should go back and my torso should fall forward at the same rate. Now, if you've never done this before, it can be a little difficult. So it may help to do one of two things. Keep one hand on the wall to help balance yourself. Pause at the bottom to get stronger in that position and come up. Or you can kind of break it down into two parts. So you kind of do a deadlift to a lunge, pause, and then come up. And then as time goes on and you feel more confident or stronger in that motion, you can go into that lunge, pause, lift your leg up, and then return to the starting position. And then level 4 is a side plank. So with your elbow underneath your shoulder to support yourself, lift yourself up, keeping your shoulders, hips, and toes all in alignment. If this is too challenging, what you can do is start on your knees and then build strength, and then over time, progress to your toes. So now we go over exercises for your hip extensors. So level 1 is the glute bridge. So laying on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, you want to take your hips and drive your hips up towards the ceiling. You should feel tension over your posterior buttocks and then down. And again, you want to make sure the back is not doing it, so you shouldn't feel tension in your low back. If you are, a couple cues is to help flatten your back beforehand and dig your heels into the ground, and then just consciously control on driving up with your glutes. Level 2 is a deadlift. With a lightweight kettlebell or dumbbell, you're going to get into a normal stance and then push your hips back and then pull your hips forward as you pull your shoulders back. Again, the deadlift can be a little unique for people that haven't done it. So if you want to just practice on just going back a little bit at first and then building range of motion as you get more comfortable, or lowering the weight, that's completely fine. But again, you want to feel tension here, not here. So it's hips back, not hips down like a squat, and then hips forward, shoulders back. So level 3 is the forward lunge, but like we talked about earlier, you're going to have to limit your range of motion most likely so you don't impinge on that hip. So you're going to place your right foot forward and then try to lunge straight down. And again, once you feel a pinchy feeling, you got to stop, and then that's your range of motion. Don't try to increase it because you're just going to cause more irritation of that hip joint. The goal is to get stronger in a partial range of motion, not try to increase your range of motion. And then level 4 is the step up. So this step up is 12 inches, but you can find anything and maybe adjust the height to your current fitness level. You're going to take the up leg up and then keeping your weight on your midfoot. Try to use the up leg to drive yourselves up, trying to push off as little as possible with the down leg. So you don't want to kind of kick up. You want to drive with this up leg up, slow and controlled, and down. Now you may find yourself leaning forward a little bit. And that's okay. But again, the goal is to use this and this to do it, not push off with the other leg. Now we'll cover exercises for your hip flexor or the anterior front of the thigh. So laying on your back, bring your hip up into flexion with your knee bent, place both hands against your knee, and then you're going to push your knee up into your hand isometrically, and then hold to tolerance. And again, don't pull it too far up because you might start that pinching, so keep it about 90 or maybe a little bit above or below depending on your current symptoms, and then press and hold. Level 2 is seated hip flexion. So sitting on a bench with your knees either straight or bend a little bit to make it easier initially, you're going to raise your leg, feel tension in the front of the hip, and then down. And again, it's probably better to raise it less far and hold for longer, because if you raise it too far, you might cause some more impingement. So again, it's working within that range of motion, hold, and then again, to make it harder, keep your knee more straight to make a longer lever arm, and then lift and hold, and lift and hold. Level 3 is laying on your back in a supine position. Bring your legs up to a 90-90 position. You may want to add an ankle weight or band to make it more difficult. If not, you can use just your leg weight, and you're going to press down to the floor, pause, and return to the starting position, and then repeat on the opposite side. As you do this, you should feel tension on your anterior hip, or the front of the hip, and the core. Try to keep your back out of it as much as possible. And again, if it's too challenging, even with just the weight, you can put one leg down and just practice one leg at a time, and then progress to both legs. And then the last one is level 4, or standing. So with an ankle weight or a band, you're going to swing your leg up, keeping your knee straight, and then slowly eccentrically or lower it back down to the starting position. Again, you should feel tension on the anterior or front of the hip. Again, keeping the knee straight. Swing your leg up as high as you can, and then slow down. To increase the difficulty, add a heavier weight, or slow the tempo down as you lower it. And then lastly, we'll go over core muscles, most specifically lower abdominal muscles. So level 1 is in a back position with one knee bent, keeping your core nice and engaged. You're going to lift your leg straight and come down. Again, if it's a little too challenging, you can bend your knee to make a shorter lever arm, but the goal is to feel tension in your abs or your lower abdominal muscles. Level 2 is both legs, but with your knees slightly bent, raise up and down. Again, as you lift, you want to feel tension here. Your shoulders and upper back should not lift. So only lift as high as you can control with your abs. And again, the motion should be slow and controlled. Minimize any ballistic loading or kind of using inertia to help you lift. Again, lift up and down. So level 3 is both legs with knees straight. So laying on your back, you can use your arms to support, lift your legs up, slow and controlled, and down. Again, you want to emphasize your core muscles and minimize any ballistic or rapid loading. And again, your upper back should remain flat and motionless through the whole motion. So level 4 is the scissors. So lifting both legs up, press them out to tolerance, return to the together, and then slowly return to starting position. Lift up, press out, making sure to feel tension over your core, slow and controlled, and again, minimize any inertia or ballistic loading. Thank you so much for watching our video on hip impingement. If you found the video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to watch our other videos.